Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Empowering Musicians podcast. I'm your host, Michael Manley, and I'm glad to be with you again this week. I have prepared a very special solo round episode that really deals with gigs from hell and healthy gigs. And what do I mean by a gig from hell? Well, we've all had them if we've been working musicians for any length of time. Maybe we were stuck backstage between services with no green room or meals, still waiting for a check from an orchestra concert 4 weeks ago, or playing in the summer heat while being eaten alive by mosquitoes. All of these and more haunt our nightmares as working musicians. Well, what if I told you I had a magic formula for avoiding them? The secret sauce to steer clear of gigs from hell forever. Fear not, Gig-O-Matic is here, and it can be yours for 5 easy payments of $19.95. But only if you act now. Actually, I'm giving this away free today, and though it doesn't bedazzle or solve male pattern baldness, it is my own invention. So I'm channeling my inner Billy Mays and Ron Popeil in today's show. Where did this come from? Well, it really came from the fact that I was running into folks who were just in the worst situations, just really making crap money in like horrible conditions. And I realized that nobody was having a calculation in their own head about, is this a job I should take? Or is this an opportunity I should pass on? And I thought, why don't I literally write a formula that addresses this? So that's kind of the context of this. And as we are, as all musicians are, we love what we do, and we rightly consider what we do art, and we consider ourselves artists, whether we play for the love of music or earn money as professionals. But when we're paid for what we do, we become working musicians as well as artists. And when we are working musicians, we have to weigh the personal value of an opportunity against the value we bring to those who we are working for, and also how this work impacts the standards of our profession, standards that so many before us fought to achieve. Now, I've heard many gigs from hell stories over the years and have had a few of my own from my early days. In the US and Canada, most of these nightmares are on non-union jobs, as unionized work carries certain guaranteed standards and protections. But not all opportunities are union jobs, and as much as we wish they were, and in a field where we love to do what we do, it is easy to be exploited. For example, you will be asked more than once in your career to play for experience. If you've ever tried to pay rent with your experience or buy groceries, you know already that the currency exchange for experience against the US dollar is zero. Now, from all these horror stories, I realized a few things. First, as much as I believe in only working union jobs, the reality is that not all opportunities are professional, and not all professional opportunities are yet unionized workplaces. So I want to stress here that it is totally okay to play for the love of it. I currently donate my services to a local nonprofit wind orchestra because I believe in their mission. The quality of the music making and repertoire are very high, and they have a tiny budget for now. So do I want to see them grow to be a professional union ensemble? Eventually, yes, absolutely. And I'm working to help them build to that level. But it's not that I place a lower value on that musical work that I donate. It's that I've made the calculation that the personal reward is enough for me, given, and here's the key, that there is no external profit being made. And we're going to talk a lot more about that in a minute. But as long as nobody's making a profit off your work, that's a realm where you can say, do I want to donate my services or not? So the question becomes, how do we balance the worth of our musical service versus the value it adds elsewhere? How do we know if a potential opportunity is a healthy gig or a gig from hell? This is where the Gig-O-Matic formula comes in. I'm not talking about a formula to cure baldness, but an actual math formula here. This is how it works. Each factor in the Gig-O-Matic formula gets a score of 1, 2, or 3, with 3 being very high and 1 being very low. The first factor is personal reward, or PR. Someone wants me to play the Brahms Horn Trio with them. That gets a 3 for my personal reward. It's one of the great pieces for my instrument, and I love playing it. Now, a Sousa March, well, those are always a 1 for me, because that's the absolute lowest I can score a Sousa March. Sorry for all of you Sousa fans. The second factor is C, for compensation. What are we receiving for our work in pay and also treatment? Again, 1 for very low, 3 for high, 2 is somewhere in the middle. All union jobs are a 2 or a 3 for me, because I know they will carry with them appropriate minimum rates and workplace protections. Playing for Barbra Streisand's 5th or 6th final tour, where I might make $3,000 a week and stay in really nice swank hotels, that compensation score for me is going to be a 3. That's very high. But if I'm asked to perform an outdoor 4th of July Pops concert an hour away for $200 with no mileage or gas reimbursement, that gets a 1 for me. So you get the idea of how this scoring works for compensation. The last factor in our formula is external profit, or EP. I say external because this is what other people are making on your work, not what you are being paid. So orchestras almost always get a 1 here, as they are nonprofit entities and they're not commercial organizations by definition. And if I'm playing the Brahms Trio at my friend's doctoral recital, that gets a 1, as there is no profit at all. Now, playing in the backup orchestra for Weird Al Yankovic's tour, yes, Weird Al has an orchestra show. Well, that is a 3. Weird Al or someone is making a ton of money from that arena show. So to review, the Gig-O-Matic formula is personal reward, or PR, plus compensation, or C, minus external profit, EP. And that's going to give us the score, which is going to help us determine, again, a healthy gig from a gig from hell. So when we calculate this formula, the number we get is how much the opportunity is worth, or how healthy the gig is. The range of possible sums runs from -2 to +5. That's the total number of outcomes we can have with this formula using only the numbers 1, 2, and 3. Anything above a 0, I think, is safely a healthy gig. Now, I'm going to give you an example of how you can put the Gig-O-Matic to work for yourself. First, let's take that Brahms Trio at my friend's doctoral recital that I mentioned. She's paying me an honorarium of $25. And the university isn't really charging admission, but they are asking patrons for donations to their new building fund. So the equation would look like this. Personal reward, PR, is going to be a 3 for me, very high. I love the Brahms Trio. Compensation gets a 1. $25 is a nice gesture, but it's not a lot of money. But that's okay for me, because again, the external profit is also a 1. No one is really getting rich here, and the money they do generate is going to a new music building. It's a cause that I don't mind supporting. So here, PR 3 plus C 1 equals 4. Minus our EP, our external profit, which also equals 1, we get a total of 3. That's a pretty high score on our healthy Gig-O-Matic score meter. Here's another example. Terry, the principal horn of a local community orchestra I play with, called me very excited to let me know that our orchestra would be backing up a concert called Super Mario Live at our local sports stadium. While the musicians would not be paid, the orchestra management was getting a fee, which they really could use as fundraising was slow last year. And I did some research and I found out that the tickets prices for this Super Mario Live concert were ranging from about $85 to $200. And Terry said it looked like a fun opportunity playing this great video game music, which was admittedly a ton of fun to play. So let's apply our Gig-O-Matic formula here. I'm going to give this a personal reward of 2 because I don't really know the music well, but I'm going to assume it's kind of fun to perform. And it's got great horn parts. Compensation, or C, is going to get a 1 from me because it doesn't pay anything at all. So, and I'm used to this with this group because it is a community band or community orchestra with a mission of offering free classical concerts in my town. External profit, however, the EP, is going to be a 3. And this is because that while the orchestra itself is a nonprofit and they are receiving some funds from it, there is another party, a producer of this concert, which is not nonprofit. They are completely commercial, and they're going to be making a ton of money off of those $200 tickets for Super Mario Live. And while I like to support my local orchestra and my nonprofits, this concert is making a commercial producer a lot of cash. In other words, when the orchestra management accepted this for-hire work for this for-profit commercial venture, they stopped being that same community orchestra with the same mission that I signed on to and became a free market for-hire group. So they're not offering any compensation is a problem for me in this situation. So what does our Gig-O-Matic say? We have a personal reward, or PR, is 2, plus a compensation, or a C, of just 1 because I'm not being paid, and that equals 3. The external profit, however, is also a 3. Somebody's making a lot of money. So when we subtract that external profit from our personal reward plus compensation, we are left with a big fat 0, making this a gig from hell, not a healthy gig. So I'm going to pass on this. Now, there are many, many other factors that go into these decisions and how we evaluate opportunities. We may want to get noticed by certain prominent musicians or contractors in our community that we've been trying to get on the radar of. But in general, it's better to have something than nothing. And in my experience, people have nothing. And so I think when you apply what I'm calling this Gig-O-Matic in my Ron Popeil themed show here, when you apply this to your opportunities, you at least have some critical evaluation of what something might be like before you just say yes. And one thing we don't often talk about is the power of saying no. And it's not easy. And when we're starting out, we feel especially pressured to say yes to every opportunity that comes our way. And playing for experience is tempting, especially if it's repertoire that we love to play, like in my case, the Brahms Trio. But it won't pay the bills and doesn't often translate to paying work. So we just really have to know, if I play this, if I do this work, is it going to provide enough personal reward for me? And is that more than what somebody else is going to be making off of my work? So in sum, we don't want to make our own experience someone else's profit if we can avoid it. So one exercise that you can do at the end of this podcast is think about the last 2 times that you performed a concert, whether it was a professional job, a recital, a college band concert, or a brass quintet recital, anything where you performed in front of an audience. For each of these, score your own Gig-O-Matic factors. Personal reward, PR, 1 to 3, compensation, C, 1 to 3, and external profit, 1 to 3 EP. And you want to add your personal reward to your compensation and subtract that external profit. When you do this, did these add up to healthy gigs? Were they 1 or above? Were any of them 0? Or were any of them, heaven help us, negative numbers? And did these answers surprise you? Or are they what you expected? I'm eager to hear your thoughts. If you want to reach out to me on Facebook, LinkedIn, or leave a comment if you're watching on YouTube. And just remember that a healthy career is one where we gain personal reward while our artistry is fairly valued. So know your worth, love what you do, and do the math before saying yes. Thanks for listening. I'll look forward to seeing you next week. Take care.